Okay, let's see. Do others need our help? Do others actually need help with teaching, healing, helping, serving, etc.? We're always tuning into that. And since each person has an infinite version of themselves, aren't we just kind of creating someone who needs help if we think it's our job to be a healer or...
No. You may be creating your version of them, but that doesn't mean that there isn't an actual individual that is requiring of assistance. That's the whole idea anyway, to be of service to each other, to reflect to each other who you are and to help with what you need. Again, it doesn't mean that people have to accept the help, but that's the purpose of it, is to reflect to each other what you really need to create scenarios and challenges that will help you learn who you are in different situations. So in that context, if you want to put it this way, everyone needs help. And at the same time, I don't mean that in a negative way. I'm not saying that everyone is helpless. The idea is that everyone needs help as a device in order to learn more about themselves and in order to know that they're connected to other beings, truly, that everyone is a representation of all that is, looking at all the reflections of itself and experiencing that interconnectedness that allows you to know that you are here for each other.
So is suffering necessary for growth?
Challenges are necessary for growth. It doesn't have to mean that you have to suffer, but this is one of the challenges that you're facing, is to learn that you don't have to suffer to have a challenge that will help you grow. We have challenges. We don't suffer.
What kind of challenges do you have?
Well, even the idea of making first contact with a civilization like yours is a wondrous challenge, because you're very different than us. We have learned many things about the way you express yourself. This is a great challenge to know exactly in what way we can be of assistance, in what way to approach you that doesn't intervene or interfere with your process of learning about yourselves. That's a challenge for a first contact specialist, especially when we connect with many different civilizations, all of which are so very different from one another. It's a challenge in that sense to know how to relate to so many different civilizations. It's part of our challenge as a first contact specialist.
It seems like here on Earth, a lot of misinterpretation of information. So that's probably one of the challenges you deal with us, yes?
Yes, absolutely. But we don't suffer because of it.
Because you have a different attitude about our power, so that it's not necessary for you to make that choice.
Let me put it to you this way. If we or you are watching two people play a game of chess, and you say one is winning and one is losing, well, we can observe this, but do we feel that the person that is losing is suffering? Or do we suffer because we recognize that someone may not be winning? No, it's a game of chess. That's what happens. One person may out-strategize another. One person may not understand the rules as clearly as another. One person may simply not be as experienced as another. But all of that goes into the factoring of learning to play the game better. So it's not about suffering. It's about learning. It's about an opportunity to play differently next time. There's no suffering involved in that, if you look at it that way.
Will the version of Earth that you interact with have a reduced level of suffering, or it will have all of the things that we're still currently aware of in our...
Ultimately, in the years to come, the decades to come, you will not experience the idea on that version of Earth of suffering. You will be similar to us, not identical, but similar. But it's up to you as to exactly how long it takes you to navigate to that version or versions, because again, you always keep navigating, you always keep changing. But you can get to a point where you don't have to experience suffering on the versions that you're navigating through. As we have often said, even though you may be at a point sometime where you don't necessarily need to let go of negative beliefs or fear-based beliefs anymore, you will still continue to streamline yourselves by simply letting go of what is no longer relevant. Doesn't mean that that thing that's no longer relevant had to have been negative. It's simply no longer relevant. Therefore, even though you may arrive eventually at a place where you don't experience suffering anymore, you will still have things to learn and things to let go of as you learn more and more about who and what you are as an extension of all that is. So yes, you can get there. But again, not everyone will necessarily choose to go in that direction.
So if a human does encounter another being suffering, and it seems to generate an emotional reaction from us to see something suffering,
then help them.
Right. So, but how would you, when you see a being suffering?
Yes,
versus,
like many of you.
And then
what do we do? What do we do?
Well, you take
share
action.
The information. We take the action of sharing the information with you that can help you learn to stop suffering. But we also let you decide whether or not to apply that in your lives, because what you do with it is none of our business. So we make the opportunity available to you through our actions of communication, but that's all we can do, and that's all anyone can do. But you can share ideas that are different.
But you still don't have like the visceral reaction that we do, right?
No, because we see your greater selves. We know how powerful you are. We know that you are challenging yourselves in a variety of ways. We know that you're indestructible spirits and can't ever really die or annihilate yourselves. So we understand that you chose many of these challenges to learn who you are in all these different ways. We're here to help you learn that you can do it slightly differently so you don't have to suffer in that knowledge, in that exploration. But that's about it. Because the rest is up to you.
So like we notice that people who experience the horrors of war and things like that, they're quite traumatized and they have post-traumatic stress disorder and all of that. So I'm not sure I understand exactly how.
Let me give it to you this way. Again, it depends on how you use everything. Like we have said, it's not about what happens. It's about what you do with what happens that makes the difference. So even what you call PTSD can be a vibration that creates a pressure that forces a soul to really explore its options in another direction. It can be the driving force that makes a person look for another way, another path. It depends on how you use it. So if a person has put themselves in a position, in an experience, in a situation, in a circumstance where they create for the physical form a PTSD experience, they had a reason for doing so. And if they can allow themselves to remember that they can use that to their advantage, they may have done that, chosen that to accelerate their ability to move forward much more quickly than they otherwise would have, then that's a way to look at the idea of having chosen that situation to begin with. Because again, to the soul, it's just another way of knowing yourself.
Right.
Nothing is judged.
It's really about being able to expand to a higher level of yourself so that you don't have that effect, basically.
Yes. So that you understand how things work enough so that you know you can apply different definitions and different meanings to every experience so that you can take responsibility for having chosen the kind of experience you attracted to yourself or that you attracted yourself to in order to learn from it in a more powerful way. Because those things that you call negative, that you call horrific, do have the tendency to wake you up. So wake up.
And like in the past, humans would really get into a lot of blood sports, and huge crowds like to watch people being hung and, all the things that we've seen humans get excited about.
Yes.
And now we have most of that like on television.
Yes.
And so can you help us understand a little bit about what the function of that is or how that fits in?
Well, I think you already know, and many people on your planet understand these things can be cathartic. To put it in the simplest possible terms, you can work through some of that negative energy by watching a fictional character go through it without you having to experience it yourself. So if I really want to put it in the simplest possible phrase, it would be, well, thank goodness that's not me. But it can still allow you to feel the emotional responses and reactions that help you process those things within yourself, sometimes without even knowing you're doing so. So it can be cathartic if used that way. It can also be a representation of someone who has chosen to feel stuck in negative energy. But again, it comes down to how do you use the experience?
So along those lines, like when children watch violence, they tend, at least studies show that they start acting it out. And
yes, because they are taught that that's the way civilization exists and that that's inevitable for them. But you see, it has to go hand in hand with teaching them how things work. It's not just about letting them be exposed to the idea of the negativity without also exposing them to the idea that they have power to choose how to deal with it. So when a civilization is only left with one side of the equation, then yes, of course, they'll act that out because they're being taught this is the way our civilization is and this is what I'm supposed to do because that's what they taught me. You have to have the other side taught as well. You're out of balance. As you say, koyana skatse,